Hi, I'm Beacham from the Lutz campus, and I'm so excited to be sharing with you today. The theme for this week is He is my promise. The question I have today is, what promise from God do you need to trust? I was reflecting on this question for myself, and I just had an experience that I wanted to share with you. Anybody who knows me, they know that I love to serve. I love serving people. I love serving projects. I just love to serve. And I found myself years ago over serving. And after I look back on that time, I found that I was over serving because I was trying to get more of God's love, more of God's favor, and just thinking because I was a rebellious child growing up. So being rebellious is you don't get much of that love and that affirming. So I felt myself needing that from God. And so what I learned though is that there's nothing more that I can do to get more of his love, more of his promises, more of anything. There's nothing I can do. He's already promised what he wants to promise us. You know, we live in a approval based society. If you do this, then you get this. But that's not how God works. And so in his promises, it's not if you do this, I'll give you more of this. God's promises is what it is. Ephesians 2:8-9 in the New International Version says, which is one of my favorite scriptures to stand on when I am, like, as I said, I'm that doer, I'm that overserver at times. But this is the scripture that I stand on that gives me reassurance that I don't have to do those things. I don't have to seek more of what God has already given us. And so the scripture says, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Grace is not earned from God, and that's what I learned in that time. He gives it to us freely, and that's what his word says. But our key verse for this week is Psalm 23:6, and it says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I looked up the word surely, and it means with assurance, confidently, without doubt, to express a degree of certainty. So with assurance and confidence, without a doubt, grace and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. That's so reassuring to me. So I have been studying Exodus and God's promise for the children of Israel. And I think that this is such a great story for me to tie into our theme for this week. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of Exodus, and it's the overview of chapter 3 through chapter 12. Now, I'm not going to read it all to you. I do want you in your spare time to read it because it's such an amazing thing to just watch the interaction between Moses and God and how he's talking to him and giving him instruction. And so I'm going to paraphrase it just a little bit for the sake of time. But so God spoke to Moses through a burning bush. And at that time, he told him that he wanted him to go to Egypt and to tell Pharaoh to let the people go, the children of Israel to go. And Moses came up with everything he could to tell God. Moses told God, I can't do that. I'm not qualified. He said, they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to believe me. I'm slow in speech and of slow tongue. Moses asked God to send someone else. I don't know about you, but that I've had moments like that too. God saying something, I'm like, no, that's not for me, God. That must be for somebody else. I'm not good enough for that. But God tells him to go, and I will be with you. And that's what God says, I will be with you. So Moses goes the first time to Egypt, and he tells Pharaoh what God says, and Pharaoh just about laughs at him and says, no, I'm not doing that. And he gives the children of Israel more work because of Moses coming. So Moses went back to God and said, God, I did what you said. And Pharaoh didn't let the people go. And God told Moses to go back and that I'm going to harden Pharaoh's heart. And I want you to go back and give him the message. So the message never really changed. The message was to tell Pharaoh to let my people go. So God sent Moses back 10 times. That's the end, toward the ending of this. God sent Moses back 10 times with warnings and plagues, and Pharaoh still refused to listen. We do know that eventually Pharaoh did let the children of Israel go. But there's a couple things that I learned from this. One, if there's a promise that we're standing on and we're not seeing the results of the promise, then we need to keep checking in with God for further instruction, guidance, and reassurance. The second thing I learned from this is we need to be patient in the process of the promise. What promise from God do you need to trust? What promise do you need reassurance on? What promise are you growing weary in because it's not coming to pass? What promise is that? So Hebrews 10:23 in the New Living Translation tells us, "Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise." God can be trusted to keep his promise. So whatever that promise is that you may not be seeing fulfilled at the time, God is faithful to keep his promise, as he did in the story with Moses and the children of Israel. So I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to get some index cards and to find some of God's promises that you need to lean into. Find the promises that mean something to you right now. I want you to write that on an index card. I want you to post those index cards in places that you're going to frequent and that you're going to see, so you can be reminded of God's goodness and his promises, and you can continue to stand on his word and continue to believe and remember what he says for you, what he promises you. I'm so glad that I had a chance to share with you today. God bless you.